This is your host, Dub FFG, Fantasy Football GOAT Strategies. Thank you for tuning in. We're at week 13, y'all. Closer and closer to the fantasy football playoffs. Are you ready? Well, we hope so. If not, we're going to help you out here. We're going to get you in the playoffs. Let's get to it. First up, we're looking at Puka Nacua. The Rams and Nacua are playing on the road versus the Saints in the Dome. And the Saints, they're very giving to the opposing wide receivers. So, Puka's numbers should be very consistent, particularly compared to the last 3 weeks. So expect similar numbers. Puka Nacua, definitely putting him in the game. Next up, we're looking at A.J. Brown. A.J. and the Eagles, they're playing the Ravens on the road. But the Ravens defense hasn't been good versus the pass. So expect A.J. Brown to have some awesome numbers. This should be a shootout, a battle. Should I dare say it could be a preview of the Super Bowl? Because these two teams are very talented and very stacked. So, A.J. Brown, put him in the game. Next up, we're looking at Derrick Henry. Now, Derrick Henry and the Ravens, they're hosting the Eagles. Again, as I mentioned, this is a big game. But the Eagles defense, though they are very giving as well when it comes to wide receivers, they are tough on the running game though. So this should be a battle of the running backs. Particularly Derrick Henry has been the number one fantasy running back this season until last week. That's because the opposing running back overtook him. So Henry is now in second place. But we look for Henry to get back to first place with this performance this week. He's at home, so he's going to perform big. Derrick Henry, put him in the game. New season, new brand. Fantasy Football GOAT Strategies Under Armour t-shirt is now available. Pick up yours today. Next up, we're looking at Joe Mixon. Now, Joe Mixon and the Texans, they're on the road versus the Jags. The Jags, they're just horrible on defense. There's nothing more to be said. Joe Mixon should have a good day at the office playing the Jags. Put him in the game. Next up, we got Saquon Barkley. As we mentioned, this is a big game. The Eagles versus the Ravens in Baltimore. The Ravens, they're tough on running backs as well. But as I mentioned earlier, this is going to be a battle of the running backs. The top fantasy running backs and the top running backs in general. Saquon Barkley versus Derrick Henry. Both should put on a show. Saquon is going to get the touches, whether running or receiving. He's going to have a big game. Saquon Barkley. Next up, we're looking at Alvin Kamara. Now, Alvin, he's at home versus the Rams. The Rams, they're 23rd versus running backs. And like always, Alvin Kamara is going to get tons of touches. This should be a good game for him, particularly they're coming off a bye, and so he's well rested. Alvin Kamara, he's going to do his thing. Keep him in the game. Now, this is week 13. Week 13 is this alpha state. Anytime you enter the week 10, 11, 12, 13, you're dealing with the alpha state in this fantasy football thing. So with this being week 13, you add that abundance to it. So with the alpha and the abundance put together, you're dealing with stability. This is the second stage of stability. The first stage was week 4. This is the time where this is my core. This is what I'm riding with in the playoffs. So week 13, begin to fulfill your destiny. And that is march on to that fantasy football championship. This is Dub FFG. As we said, take our information, use it wisely, and use it responsibly. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell. We'll see you soon.